Start with The Hills Have Eyes, is that okay?
Why not?
Fine, okay.
You asked me as though I have any choice in the matter.
Okay, so The Hills Have Eyes.
No, let's start with something else.
No,
let's
fine. Let's start with The Hills Have Eyes, because we were on Cue the Winged Serpent, which is a classic Larry Cohen horror movie. And oddly enough, it's sort of around the same period, The Hills Have Eyes, a very famous Wes Craven horror movie. And the original was an extremely intense, horrifying but also intellectual experience about it's a kind of town and country story in which a town family go out into the country, become abandoned, and are set upon by an inverted commas cannibal family, and terrible things happen, and has a really sort of grotesque atmosphere and you know, very intense and very claustrophobic and very, very nightmarish. But it also has a great subtext, and the subtext is that the two families are the id and the ego. They are the cultured and the uncultured, the civilized and the uncivilized. And of course, the thing, as is always the case with Wes Craven movies, that the underdogs are, if anything, more civilized underneath the veneer of looking like they are the uncivilized people. So what you have is this clash of town and country, this clash of culture and apparent barbarism. But in fact, what you discover is that we are the uncivilized people. And that's great. And whenever you talk to Wes Craven, whenever one talks to Wes Craven, what I'm actually saying is whenever I talk to Wes Craven about this movie, that's the thing he talks about.
Me.
It's all me. So the film's now been remade because at the moment they are just remaking every single horror movie from when I was a kid. And now it's been remade by Alexandre Ayer. Alexandre Ayer is a brilliant director. He's the guy who directed Switchblade Romance, which was insane. I mean, really, really insane. I think you interviewed Cécile de France, the star of it. She came on the show, you remember?
She outrageously French.
She was outrageously French. She was like, oh, hi-ho, croissant.
Yes, I don't think she resorted to stereotype quite so quickly.
But you're the one who said outrageously French.
Yeah, but I didn't.
You're going to say cheese-eating surrender monkeys. What?
You can be outrageously French without using the word croissant.
Okay, so he has now, you know you can't, he has now remade it with his usual visual style. Here's a clip from the remake of Hills Have Eyes.
Well, if I do say so myself, ma'am, your husband here is quite right. This is the only southbound road going to I-88. From there, you can take the 40 to California, but it's a long old drive.
You know, that doesn't bother me a bit. I like to drive at night. I used to work the night patrol for 15 years.
Is that right? You a cop?
No, detective.
Not anymore, thank God.
I'm starting my own security firm.
Uh-huh. You a cop too, mister?
No, I'm in telecommunications. I sell cell phones.
Well, you won't find any customers around here.
Yeah, no kidding.
Now, if you've ever watched any horror movies and you've been on the road and you've been at a gas station with a guy pumping gas with a cigarette in his mouth, he says, you won't find any strain around here in old California. Really good idea. Turn round, go back to the town because bad things are going to happen. But these people have no idea about this, so they drive off into the desert. And guess what?
They don't break down, do they?
They do break down. It's completely unheard of, and then really, really bad things happen. Now, on the good front, it's a nasty film. I mean, it's really, genuinely wince-inducing.
That's going to be a bad thing. Then.
No, it's a horror movie, so therefore that's a good thing. There are several moments in which you think, crumbs, that's really unpleasant. Gosh, even thinking of that is really nasty. Oh, crikey,
I don't think that's allowed.
Yes, are you really going to do that on a screen near me soon? So that was quite good, because having sat through loads and loads of horror remakes, and I'm thinking specifically of the Texas Chainsaw Massacre remake, which was awful. I mean, the original Texas Chainsaw Massacre, there's almost no gore on screen. It's absolutely terrifying. The remake of the Texas Chainsaw Massacre, it's nothing but blood and gore on screen, and it's the most boring movie I've seen for years and years and years. And it was really annoying, because you felt like a new generation were being served this version of an old classic and going, well, what's the big fuss with that? Well, go and see the original. Now, in the case of The Hills Have Eyes, it does not skimp on the gore. It does not skimp on the gru. It does not skimp on the nastiness. It does not skimp on the perversion. You really think you are a sick and twisted man, and for that I applaud you. But what it doesn't have, and this is a big problem for me, I know people think that horror fans are just meatheads and gorehounds. We like a bit of substance. We like a bit of brains with our offal. We like something to chew on in the
while you're being sick.
In the intellect. No, but we're not sick, are we? We're moved. We like our intelligence, our intellect to be tickled, even as our stomachs are turned. And what you get with this is you get the stomachs turned, you get the raw knuckle stuff. But there's none of that duality. There's none of that, hey, they're both two sides of the same thing. Firstly, there's an awful lot of backstory. I hate backstory. I hate it when people stand around and explain how this all happened. There's a whole backstory about nuclear testing and blah-de-blah, and it's like, no, don't explain things. Texas Chainsaw Massacre never explained anything at all, and it was one of the scariest movies ever made. There is a moment in The New Hills Have Eyes in which one of the characters actually does the speech in which he says, the thing is that we are what you made us and you did this to us, and it's like, don't do this. I've been here for like 60 minutes. Don't stand up and explain the film to me. If the film doesn't explain itself to me, the last thing I want is a character standing up and explaining to me. And also, frankly, Alexandra, you've got this far without any subtext. Don't try and paste it on now.
Are there any banjos in it?
No, there aren't. There aren't. But funnily enough, he's a huge fan of Deliverance. He's also a huge fan of Straw Dogs. And there is one moment in which one of our heroes, the townie guys, well, he's kind of anti-hero, has lost his glasses, and his glasses get cracked. And then he puts his glasses back on and picks up a rifle, which, of course, if you're a 70s cinema fan like me, you'd know it's Dustin Hoffman in Straw Dogs. And he's referencing that, in the end, Alexander is going to end up remaking Straw Dogs. That's really what he wants to do. That's kind of what he was doing with Switchblade Romance. That's kind of what he's doing here. So, yes, it's gruey. Yes, it's unpleasant. Yes, it's mucky, filthy, perverted, and all that stuff, which is good. But it's just not very smart.